Right, that's it, Andy. I pressed the button. We are live.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, Andy. Good to see you again.
And you.
Hello from York.
And hello from Crowthorne.
Crowthorne. Tell us where that is again. I know, I'm only joking. You told us last time, but it's near Reading, isn't it?
It's near Reading, yeah, west of London.
West of London, yeah. I remember it well.
Famous for Broadmoor and Wellington College.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've never heard of Wellington College, but I've heard of Broadmoor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I've ever been there. Not that I've ever been there. Wouldn't want to. So so anyway, it's good to have a bit of a chat again. We do these on every Wednesday at the moment, which is nice. So today I've just written down a notebook here. We're going to talk about pillars number 4 and 5 of the 5 pillars.
Yeah.
And pillar number 4 is proactivity, and pillar number 5 is perseverance. But just a quick recap for viewers, anybody who was watching this. Pillar number 1 was perception. Whatever you're feeling and trying to understand what you're feeling. Pillar number 2 is purpose. Trying to figure out why you're doing what you're doing and trying to figure out what you want to do, purpose. Number 3, preparation. Having a plan, making plans, getting the tools together for your journey, the journey that you've decided to go on after figuring out 1 and 2. And then today we're into proactivity and perseverance, which proactivity is execution of the plan. And then pillar number 5 is just keeping at it. Anything to add to that, Andy?
No, I don't. Well, they're the 5 pillars. No.
Which is your favourite pillar?
It's actually doing stuff. It's these 2 that we're talking about today. Actually, it's
that surprises me.
And the perseverance.
That surprises me because I always thought number 1 was your favourite pillar, perception, the old feelings bit, touchy feelings and finding out about yourself. Yeah, my favourite, as you know, is purpose.
Yeah, I think the perception and purpose are really, really important in order to be able to do the things at the end.
Yeah,
doing them, they are extremely important, which is why I go on about them all the time when we talk, Nick. But it's a means to an end rather than the end. I prefer doing stuff and actually executing rather than thinking about what I'm going to do.
Right, in that case, let's find out about what Andy has done then, and then you can then find out about me, Andy. I'll ask you a few questions, and then maybe you can ask me a few as well. So this proactivity and perseverance. I think it'd be useful for anybody who's watching to tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience of proactivity and perseverance. Because before we came on air here today, you were telling me all about all the things that you've done over the last. Well, you quit full-time work, your full-time corporate job when you were 47, didn't you? And you're 62 now, so that's 15 years. So you've had 15 years of proactivity and perseverance.
Yes.
See if you can condense that into a few minutes.
Into a few minutes, I'll go.
Yeah, into a few minutes. So go fire over to you, Andy.
Okay, so proactivity and perseverance over. So when I left my job, I really sort of I did a shortcut and I worked out what I wanted to do, which was help people and give stuff back based on what I did. So I started off with really, just trying to be going and doing projects, not working full-time, working as a consultant, actually going and fixing things. Tried one with a big corporate, worked there for 10 months, made a success. So I saved them probably about 200 million, which I think is quite good. But I just hated it, hated the environment, hated the control, hated the fact I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I wanted. So I then refined it a little bit and tried another one, which was a startup in a law firm. Really interesting. Did that for about 1.5 years. Was starting to make momentum, but again, it was I wasn't in control. There were too many people who were determining what I would do long term. So again, refined my plan a bit, went back, was very proactive. Went into the marketplace, told them what I wanted. Took me a couple of years, got the next one, which I did for about 3 years. Really, well, enjoyed a lot of it, but it was privately funded work in agriculture. Really enjoyed the space. Really enjoyed making a difference. So that was, and I got to the end of that, and I thought, I can't go through this anymore. I don't have enough control. I've got too many people telling me what to do, and I prefer being autonomous and working by myself.
And how long was this then? How long had you been doing this when you reached that point? When you
Probably
started?
about 10 years, and in between I'd done some business advisory, which is just going in and fixing problems very fast, and also some non-exec roles, which again they weren't satisfying. So they satisfied. It was like having a Chinese meal. You feel full up for 10 minutes and then you want another one. So it didn't satisfy. So then I sort of re-looked at things that I wanted to do, and actually thought, well, I enjoy coaching. I enjoy helping people. So part of my thing is actually helping people succeed, helping people be a better person. So I was trying to channel that to begin with through businesses, and then I moved into coaching. So I actually did a lot of work to try and find out. I was very proactive in finding out how to get into coaching, what are the best qualifications, etc., etc. And I ended up doing a year's course in coaching when I ended up with a certificate of coaching, professional coaching.
You're a qualified coach.
I'm a qualified
at this
coach.
point. Yeah.
But coaching wasn't really for me. I worked that out fairly on in the program. Very, very useful tools and techniques I learned, but I didn't want to be a pure coach. I wanted to do sort of more coaching, mentoring. Well, that's what I thought anyway. So again, it was looking at how to do different things, and that probably took me up to during COVID. We were both working on the same peer group. We were trying to build peer groups with a big international organisation, working self-employed. I think I'd have enjoyed running the peer groups, but building them and working within that organisation, I found it very, very difficult. And we share a lot of experiences there. And I probably started on this journey properly when we met, and then we both left and started talking about the things that we would do.
Yeah.
And since then, I understand my purpose. I understand what it is I want to do, what makes me tick, what makes me feel fulfilled. I do volunteering. I work with charities at the moment. I play golf as and when I want to, badly, but I do play. I've started up a local group which is for retired people, which is for retired executives, which gives them an opportunity to talk about general affairs, that sort of water cooler chat that you had when you were at work, but you don't have anymore, which I run once a month. And I've had about 45 people coming through that over the last year and a half. We set up Men's Oasis, which is sort of it's still going. It's part of what we're doing here. I'm looking at maybe doing a part-time role, which is accompanying and being a train tour manager, which I talked about
in the last one. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
The last thing. So I'm down to the stage where I'm, long listed. Maybe get something next year.
So what's your takeaway then from number 4 and number 5? Proactivity and perseverance. What's the takeaway? What advice would you give to people who are watching?
Well, the advice I would give things a go. Try them. To begin with, they're not quite right, but try them. Persevere. Talk to lots of people. Be very proactive in terms of talking to your network, expanding your network to other places, trying to find different things that do what it is that you want. So it's what satisfies your purpose. That makes sense?
Yeah. So when it comes to, I know we're talking about proactivity and perseverance, but just going back onto purpose very briefly, did your purpose always stay the same? Was it always the same purpose? I mean, 'cause I hear this helping people seems to be the consistent theme.
Yes, and that's been a theme. So the nuances. So the theme of helping people succeed has been consistent for a long time. So in my corporate career, and that's what's driven me. It's not about necessarily me succeeding and taking all the glory. It's about having the people around me succeeding.
All right.
So them being successful.
Yeah. So what you were looking for then, with your proactivity and your perseverance and coming back round again, you were looking for an outlet that linked to your purpose. Because these all sound like outlets to me, that start off doing projects with a big corporate, then move on to startups and those sort of things. These are all an outlet for your purpose, aren't they? So then it's coaching, then it's on to building peer groups, business leader peer groups is what they were, and then now it's still building groups, but it sounds to me like you're now building groups of more like peers of you, people like you, retired men, and men of a certain age.
Yes, and women if they're interested. Although the men's Oasis group is very focused towards men. That was just giving
Hence
an
the name.
outlet. Yeah, well, that was giving an outlet where there weren't any locally. So it's me just deciding that's what I'd like to do, setting it up myself, but persevering, being very, very proactive. So if I talk about that one specific thing, which is satisfied an itch that I had or a desire that I had, if I think about how was I proactive? So I went to the local library, found a room, got it for free. Actually spoke to the local press. So before I did the first one, I had in my local paper, I had a big article about it, saying that it was starting then. The library promoted it as well, and I put it on. I used Facebook, and I went onto a lot of the local groups and put it in there. And in the first meeting, I had 8 people turn up, which I was surprised at. I didn't know how many people would be there. I did give them their contact details. 8 people turned up, and it seems to have gone from strength to strength. So we get anywhere between 6 and 13 people come along, and we just chat. And it's just but I what I did was I was very, very proactive in order to make that work. And I booked the room for a year ahead, for every month. We could meet once a month. So there was always a consistent venue. So that was really the proactive bit. The perseverance piece, I think, is, if you look over 15 years, I think I know what my purpose is.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm trying to satisfy that. I think the thing I was missing behind that was the perception, which is probably why I talk about the emotional bit, the soft bit, because that's the nuances of the purpose. It's about the conditions which you require in order to deliver your purpose. And if you haven't got those right, and if you haven't got those, it doesn't work. So, and I didn't really start thinking about that or doing anything until we started talking, Nick, where you challenged me hard and I challenged you hard about
absolutely
our perceptions about what it was that we like doing, what it is that why the hell are you doing something that you don't like? Why are you doing it? And we both said the same thing, I think, to each other.
We certainly were. Absolutely.
We were both giving each other advice that we hadn't taken ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Okay, excellent. So that's your journey. So what I'm hearing is that you're not going to find the thing straight away. It's probably unlikely that you will find the thing straight away. If you do, great, and get proactive and persevere. But the chances are you've been in a corporate job your whole life, or you've had a career your whole life. Your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s have probably been in one thing. They were for me, and they were for you. Then you haven't got that thing anymore. So you've got to figure out your purpose. Once you've figured it out, have a go. Find the outlet for the purpose. But the purpose would appear to be maintained. And then after that, it's just a case of finding the correct outlet for it. But it's a big difference from your 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yes,
you haven't got it's not the same. It's very different. Retirement is so different. Even if you continue to work in some form, it's not the same. It's very different in that sense. So that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. No, I think that's right.
Thanks for that.
So how about you, Nick? So I mean, what's your journey in terms of these two elements, the proactivity and the perseverance?
Absolutely. I'll share. Happy to share that with you. my background is that obviously built a business, sold my shareholding when I was in my mid-40s, when I was 44, and then retired. Well, I took a break for 4 years and I didn't do any work at all. My only purpose then was to be a good dad to my then 7 or 8-year-old son. But when I hit 50, I was getting a bit unsettled. That's back down to the perception thing that we talk about, the feelings. I was feeling like I wasn't adding a great deal of value to the world. I wasn't using my business knowledge. And I just thought I need to do something that uses that knowledge. So that's me having defined my purpose at that point. So what I then needed to find was the outlet for using the knowledge. And I thought that the best way of doing that would be similar to you, small business startups, but as an angel investor. So investing not huge amounts of money, relatively modest sums in startups within my sector. And then also providing them support and business advice doing that. Okay. I thought that would be a good way of keeping me in business, keeping me the buzz and the hum of business, and using my knowledge. Okay. And I made a plan, all these things we've talked about. I then executed the plan. I reached out to lots of angel investor groups. I was on LinkedIn within angel investor groups. I joined local groups of business people who were doing a similar thing. So I expanded and I reached out to my network, and I made it quite clear that I was available to look after and incubate 3, 4, 5 businesses at startup stage.
So how did that work out then, Nick?
It didn't work out brilliantly. I didn't enjoy it ultimately, and I think the reason I didn't enjoy it was because what I'd enjoyed about business was actually running a business. But I'd made the decision I didn't want to run a business, but that was the thing I enjoyed. Yeah. So, and what I found was you can only go so far. Even though you're an investor, you're not, and in some instances you might own the majority shares in the business, so you have the power, but you're not running the business. They're running the business. They've taken your money and they're going to try and fulfill their dream. And what I found was that you didn't have the control that you have when you're the CEO or the MD, and it's your business.
Yeah.
So it didn't go well. And also I didn't want to work full time. I only wanted to commit so many days a week, because I was still, enjoying at this point a form of retirement. I'm spending a lot of time with my son, and I didn't want to be 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. or whatever it is, 5 days a week. That was their job. They'd taken my money and they were building their business. That's what they were supposed to be doing, not me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't it didn't work out like that. As they started to underperform, which they did, I then got sucked in. And it ended up turning into a full-time job, and I just didn't want that.
Yeah. So what did you do then, Nick?
Well, I closed them all down, pulled out of my investments, called time on them all. Yeah. That process lasted about not dissimilar to you, not quite 10 years, but about 6, 7, 8 years in total. That whole process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that's when I then decided I wanted to still use my business knowledge. And that's when I got involved with the peer group organization that you and I were involved with. That's where we met. I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll be a chair of a business leader peer group, and I'll use my business knowledge that way. Now that didn't work out for me, probably a little bit differently to you. I think for you didn't enjoy the business development and the fact you had to build your own group from scratch. There was absolutely no help from them whatsoever. They thought they were helping, but they weren't. I saw it the other way. I didn't enjoy it because even though it was a self-employed contract and it was just one of a number of things you could be doing, I felt they treated me like an employee. And I had people who had I considered to be a much lesser CV than me, treating me as an employee. So I just thought, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And that was my decision to quit it. But in terms of perseverance and proactivity, I think I was very proactive, trying to get the thing off the ground. I persevered for the best part of 2 years. Whereas I think with you did it for about a year, didn't you? And you decided enough's enough.
Yeah. So I persevered for a year, but yes.
Yeah. A couple of years. And then after that, I decided, well, I know, maybe the one element of that thing, if you remember, was business coaching, wasn't it? We were coaches to the people that were joining our peer groups. And I thought, oh, this is fun. I could be a coach. I'll be a business coach. And I didn't enjoy that either. Spending an hour or 2 hours with people, listening to them, because you're not allowed to advise as a coach, are you? You've just got to listen, and they've got to unlock their own solutions. Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas I was just gagging to say, do this. So coaching wasn't for me. Advisory, yeah. So that was, and that brings me back to here. That I thought, what can I do to help people use my knowledge? And I'd adapted it then from business knowledge to my just knowledge. And I thought, I know, I need to share my journey and to be able to help people so they don't make the same mistakes. And that's where we are now with YouTube. So that's me. That's my story.
Okay. So, but I mean, with YouTube, so now you're doing YouTube, and how does that tickle your buttons?
Well, how it tickles my buttons is one, it's using my knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But instead of using my knowledge in a coaching capacity one-to-one to help somebody, it's using my knowledge in a one-to-many capacity. Yeah. So I'm able to touch and impact a lot of people. Whereas I think when I was doing the coaching thing and I was doing the angel investing, it was just the universe was quite small. It was just a handful of people you were dealing with. Whereas I think with YouTube, I've got 10,000 followers now. And some of the videos get over 1,000 comments and people saying I'm helping them. So I just think that's brilliant. I'm helping so many people, and that's what gets me out of bed now. So I'm using my knowledge of sharing our journey, my journey, your journey, to help other people make sure they don't make the same mistakes.
So when you've done this, Nick, I mean, one of the things that we talk about during the proactive stage, especially, is getting out of your comfort zone when you're doing that. So, so do you want to tell me a bit about getting out of your comfort zone during your journey, and the things that you've done, which you've tried to push it, but are the things that have worked and the things that haven't worked, the things you've liked and the things you haven't liked?
Wow, yeah, that's an interesting one. I've got to be honest with you. I don't think I ever got out of my comfort zone during the angel investing part of it and the business advisory part.
Yeah,
I think it was just completely playing to my knowledge base, and there was nothing that was really stretching me there. When you and I started doing that peer thing, I think I found that a bit more of a getting out of the comfort zone. I think the biggest challenge I found with that is that I had very much been used to running my own business and being the leader. In reality, we were one of 50, was it 50 or 60? We were one of 50 or 60 chairs. And we were at the kind of, bottom of the pecking order because we were newbies, weren't we? Mm-hmm. So I found that hard. That got me out. That was out of my comfort zone, if I'm honest. This has been the biggest thing out of the comfort zone. Getting on camera and speaking to people. And my early videos were, a little bit. Well, I scripted them and I found them a real struggle. They took hours to produce. Whereas now I just talk. I find it a lot easier. And I think getting out of the comfort zone to do these lives as well. I mean, I've got no experience of this kind of thing. It's like having a radio show. This, isn't it?
It is.
I've no experience of this, so this is definitely out of the comfort zone. And for anybody that doesn't know me, if they haven't really watched the videos, I've done a lot of psychometric tests over the years, and they all come across. They've all said the same thing. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
So doing this kind of thing, I was a bit. It was a bit scary, but I overcome it because I feel like I'm talking to you as well as the people who are watching.
Yeah.
It's like having a chat with your mate in the pub, isn't it? In a way, it's like a fireside chat.
Yeah. So
which might help people.
So I think that's one of the learnings that we both have. That actually by trying new things and trying different things, you never know. You might find something that really clicks that you've never even thought about before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think we've both done that. We've both done things, some of which haven't worked. I think I've done more outside my comfort zone than you have since I stopped in corporate life.
Tell me about the things you've done that are outside your comfort zone, Andy.
Well, the first one was the biggest thing is selling, is the sales and marketing side. So it's not really something I'd ever done in terms of prospect generation. I've never done it. So other people have always done it, and I've always come in when the prospect is there to try and turn it into a reality. So that bit is really well out of my comfort zone. This is outside my comfort zone. So having been in very big corporates, you're very much around your image, not making a mistake, not potentially not getting anything wrong, not making a fool of yourself, and that means that you do things in very prescriptive and very in ways that I was very comfortable with. And this is outside. This is different. This is very different. So doing this sort of thing is different.
Do you think people should get out of their comfort zones?
Yes, I think they should. So I think if I think about when you retire, so you've been doing something for years and years and years, and you're very comfortable about it. And throughout my career, so I did change companies. I changed roles quite significantly, and I changed them to get out of my comfort zone. So I took risks that were calculated risks, but I took risks in trying to do different things, and I always enjoyed that because it's it addresses the problem solving and the helping of people and that sort of thing. So, but I think getting outside your comfort zone for me, it keeps me alive. It keeps me thinking about doing different things or solving different problems or looking at different issues. I may not like it all, and that's fine. So if you don't like it, stop it. But some of the bits you do like, and you go, oh, I'd never thought I'd be good at that, or I never thought I'd try that again. I'd enjoy that sort of thing. So networking was hard for me because networking had come to me. I'd never had to be proactive when I networked. So being in a senior position in big corporates, do you know what? Lots of people want to talk to you. All you need to do is talk about your job title, which I know is something you talk about. So you talk about your position, not who you are, and that attracts a lot. It's like a moth to flames. It attracts a lot of people. So your network's quite big. You find that when that goes, your network just shrinks, disappears. So all the people who were talking to you aren't there. All the people you think might be able to help aren't there to help. So actually building a new network of people who will add a different type of value to me was key. So that was outside my comfort zone as well. So
let me get this right then. As an employee, as somebody who was working, you didn't have to be very proactive at networking. Is that the gist of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
are we talking external networking here? Are we talking networking outside of the company where you worked?
Probably internal networking. So I didn't worry too much about my internal networks because people would come and talk to me. So I was very fortunate. I was in a board position when I was in my late 20s in a company. So once you get to that position in an organization, people come and talk to you. You don't have to build the network. People know who you are.
So what's different in retirement then?
People don't know you. So people don't come to you because of the position you're in. They come to you because of who you are. So it's about redefining yourself. It's about,
when you say who you are, what you mean as the person rather than
the person,
than the job title.
Yeah. So when you were working, you said I'm Nick Marr of
Hitchin Marr.
Sorry, didn't know that.
Hitchin Marr.
Of Hitchin Marr. I own
name
the company.
On the door.
Yeah, I own the company, and we do financial recruitment. so that is I was a board director of corporations for Jitsu, EDS, Pirelli. So you sit there, big names. People go, oh, and they take notice because of your position, and because
So how
the
did
things
you?
you made us do.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you retired, or when you took a break? Because it wasn't really retirement at first for you. Same with
No.
me. It was a bit. You were pivoting. I think you said. How did it feel to be Andy, the man who had pivoted, who was no longer the board director of these major companies, and he was now just Andy, who was flogging his wares trying to find projects? How did that feel?
Scary, lonely, scary.
Did
Although
you
I
get
didn't.
did you get rejected much?
Yes.
How did that feel?
Yeah. Nobody likes being rejected, do they?
But if you make the decision to do something that's linked to your purpose, rejection is part of the proactivity and the perseverance.
Yeah, and the way I dealt with that, the way I coped with it, was that I knew what I didn't want to do. So each step I took, I knew what I didn't want to do. So I had a qualification process. So I'd find some opportunities, and actually, by the time I got to the second job that I had, I'd rejected a whole load, and the last two sort of jobs that I had, the one with the law firm, the one I did for about 3 years, were selected by me qualifying them. So they had to have a lot of criteria that were good for me.
So were you more selective later than you were at first then?
Yes.
So you'd work for any old Tom, Dick, and Harry at first, but you were a bit more selective later. I know. The reason I asked that question is because that I definitely was. I mean, my early angel investments, I wouldn't have took. If you, whilst I was running my business, if they'd have come along and said, will you back us to start a recruitment, I wouldn't have gone anywhere near them, But what I found was, even though I had a CV and I had some money to put into businesses, I didn't attract what I thought I was going to attract. So therefore, I started backing these, shall we say, less desirable projects. Yeah.
Yep. You didn't have the model of the Dragon's Den then, did you?
No, I wasn't Duncan Bannatyne.
No.
Yeah. Although I thought I had enough of a CV and enough of a track record. I built a company from nil to 10 million and 70 odd employees. I thought that would be sufficient of a track record to warrant somebody who was wanting to start a recruitment company wanting to get me into their team in some way.
Yeah.
How wrong was I? And that was despite significant networking.
Yeah, no, you and me the same, Nick. So I had exactly the same. I thought my CV, which said that I'd transformed businesses, I'd managed to nearly, grow a business I grew one business from 270 to 650 million in 3 years.
Yeah, we were too good. We were too good for them, Andy. That's the reality. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Okay, these projects, as you call them, and they were projects for me as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Were they failures? Do you regard that as failure? Did you fail at that phase of your retirement?
No.
What if they weren't failures? What were they?
They were limited. Well, they weren't successes. So I moved each one on from where they were. The first one was just a project turnaround project. I saved them 200 million. They still made a loss on it, but I did save them a significant amount of money, which they wouldn't have done without me. So tick in the box, fine. And they did offer me other jobs. I just never ever worked for them again.
But the thing is, you were proactive, weren't you? As each one you didn't work out, you then took another one and another one. So you were proactive and you persevered. You carried on nurturing your network. So the takeaway I'm getting for anybody who's watching this, from a retirement point of view, is you're not going to find yourself and the thing you want to do if you just sit on your arse or ass. I get pulled up on that in the comments, Andy, by the way. Arse or ass. If you sit on your arse, stroke ass, and don't get out there and trying to make it happen, even if it doesn't go well, okay, you won't get to a better place. That
No,
was my
you won't.
experience. If I hadn't have done these things that I did, and some of them were failures. I mean, I class them as failures, but what they were also is they were also experiments to try and
Yes.
work out what I was going to be good at, because it wasn't going to be that thing anymore. That thing I was known for, my own business, building a business, CEO, MD. I didn't want to be that. I was never going to be that again. So
Yeah.
I had to get good at something else. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I didn't want to sit on my ass or my ass, and whatever that form that takes. I think for a lot of retired people, retired men particularly, is they spend all day long, it's either golf, tennis, paddle, riding motorbikes, riding bikes, whatever the hell it is. It's that, isn't it? That's their lifestyle. I didn't want to be that. That to me,
No.
that would have been the equivalent of sitting on my ass.
Yeah.
I had a brain with a lot of knowledge in it that I wanted to use. But as these things didn't work out, I then moved on to something else. I kept going. And it strikes me that you did the same thing. There were experiments then, weren't they?
They were experiments, and I took a lot away from what I did, and I tried a lot of different things. So,
And you still are.
and I still am, and I'm still doing lots of different things. I'm still, I have a curiosity for life and a curiosity for things.
Yeah. Well, what are you doing?
Me.
You're doing Men's Oasis.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing What Next Exec.
Yep.
You're doing volunteering.
Yep.
You're doing something where you hang out with a bunch of guys and talk about politics. I can't remember what that one's called.
Yeah, that's a thing called Probably 42. But we actually put papers in that go into government and hopefully influence what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 4 things you do. What else do you do?
What else to do? Plan holidays with my wife.
You do this.
I do this.
The Retirement Reimagined show on this channel.
Yeah, I play golf. I do play golf, but when I want to.
Yeah, and you don't play badly, actually, because I've played with you. I play badly. You play okay.
And I play with my kids. So my 3 sons all play golf. So we play, and that's a really nice way to interact with my kids.
Yeah. But it sounds to me then that for you to have a fulfilling retirement, you seem to be somebody who needs quite a few spinning plates.
Yes, I need complexity and I need problems to solve. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Spinning plates.
Yeah.
So you need a bunch of spinning plates, and
Yeah.
if one of those plates falls off and breaks because it's not right for you, you're not bothered, are you?
No, I'm not. No.
But you will seek out another plate to spin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm the opposite of you.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I'll probably need to do the perception thing again and again and again. I only seem to be capable of having one spinning plate on the go at any given time.
Yeah.
That's how it looks to me. I don't know why, but that's the case. But the point I'm making to anybody who's watching is that you don't have to have multiple things on the go to have a fulfilled retirement. Yeah,
No,
you just have to have one thing that gives you some purpose and that you can get stuck into.
Yeah,
but that thing doesn't have to be work, does it, Andy?
No, it doesn't. So all these things, and this is where So we'll talk about our stories, but they're very different. We're both trying to get the same thing, which is get some sort of fulfillment and get some satisfaction out of what we're doing, and that can come in a number of different ways. You happen to do it because you like doing one thing at a time. I happen to do it because I like the variety.
Yeah, and for me, it's got to be. I don't know why it's the case. Maybe you could share your perception of why you think I'm doing it. For me, it's got to be something work related. I've got to have some work in my life. It doesn't have to be a job. I'm not interested in getting a job. Okay, but it's got to be a kind of a work related thing, in the sense it's got to be You know, I view it as, mind you, I don't know if I regard this as work. Maybe I'm sort of contradicting myself here. I think I probably am. This feels more like a hobby.
Yes, and I think that's what it is. It's things that. So I suppose I characterize it as what makes you want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
And you just follow those. And if there's one specific thing that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning, follow it. If there's
But it
lots
does.
of things,
It doesn't have to be work, does it?
no, it doesn't have to be work. So I do
You don't.
things
You don't have to work in retirement.
No, you don't. You have to do. You should do the things that you enjoy doing. And if you decide the things you enjoy doing are sitting down in front of TV and watching daytime TV, well, fine, then do
Yeah,
it.
but that'd be a bit sad. But you know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that would be a little bit sad. But this comes back down to the definition of retirement, doesn't it? Because I've had plenty of people in the comments pop up and say, if you're doing any form of work, you're not retired. We won't go there because you know my view on that. I think that's absolute rubbish. Yeah. And I've told you the story of my dad in the past. He retired policeman, 1 or 2 days a week as a solicitor's advisor, and the rest of the time he was like you. He was golfing, he was gardening, he was doing all the things. Was he retired? Of course he was retired, but he was still working. He was still working 1 or 2 days a week because he was bloody retired. Yeah, and the same with you and I. But I've got another friend who I've recently reconnected with. He was somebody who we had a big fallout. So 20 years ago, we had a major bust up. And he'd been a really good pal of mine for years. We met when I was at work in my 20s. We became really good friends. I'm godparent to his daughter and things like that. Anyway, we had a major bust up because we were both in the same sector, and he started poaching my staff through his proxy, somebody who worked for him. And I just said, you don't do that to your friends. And that was the end of it. We fell out, and didn't have much contact with him. Anyway, recently I bumped into him about a year or so ago. Bumped into him in a town, and I thought, oh, I'm bloody hell, I'm old enough now to let bygones be bygones. And I'd sold that business anyway, so I just went over to him and started chatting to him. And anyway, cut long story short, we're friends again.
Yeah,
we've reconnected, and I go on long walks with him and stuff like that. But his retirement, he's retired recently from the same sector, recruitment sector, and he doesn't do any work. Excuse me, doesn't do any work, and has got no intention of doing any work. Yep. But what he does do is he does volunteering, a bit like you. He does a lot of cycling, a lot of motorbiking, goes on road trips and things like that. He's very, very active in life, and that's fine. So what he is he's proactive.
Yes.
In doing things that make him happy, and give him a reason to get out of bed every day. And that is absolutely. And a lot of people who are in the comments on my videos are the same. They share their stories with me. They share their lives with me, and I love it. And some people are very active, doing lots of things, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. These 5 pillars apply to life without work, don't they? If you don't want to work, you still apply these 5 pillars to finding out what you do want to do.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, Nick, that so we if all the conversations we've had around this are the fact that this is the opportunity for us to do what we want, when we want, and how we want. But it is about it. It's the old adage: the more you put in, the more you get out. That's the way I feel, and I think that's the way you feel. So I feel that if even in retirement, if I'm not putting stuff in, I'm not going to get stuff out. So I look at my dad. So my dad retired in his early 60s. He did a bit of consultancy work. He loved his garden, but he kept himself proactive. He learned Italian. He's traveled a lot, and he did things that he really loved doing. He loved reading autobiographies. He loved reading historical books, but it was all about feeding his mind and retaining and getting more knowledge. Yeah. So, but he didn't just. He wasn't someone who could just sit down and do nothing. He had to go out and do something.
Yes.
And maybe that's that. Maybe that's the common thing we both have: role models of our parents who who carried on doing things. And I think that's the key
Yes.
to it. And whether they're paid or not, it's irrelevant. And whether you classify it as work or not. So the thing, we've had the conversation about classifying things as work. So I classify this as work, but it's not something I have to do because I have to do it. It's something I have to do because I want to do it. But in
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
head, this is a work thing for me because it's about a passion I have for helping people, and it's helping satisfying two needs. But it's coming back to that purpose thing. It's really being clear about the purpose, and then the perception behind it, which is the emotional thing of how do you deliver it. So you deliver it by doing one at a time. I deliver it by doing several at a time. Some people do it different ways. They do it by being very active. They cycle, they ride motorbikes, or what, all things.
Yeah, and let's face it, the way I see it is the most purposeful life you can have is one where you're happy doing what you do.
Yes.
I mean, my father was very happy doing what he did, and that to me, if you can look in the mirror as a retired person and say, I'm really happy, I enjoy my life, then you've nailed it. You've nailed it, and that doesn't have to be work. Doesn't have to be in there.
No.
I mean, I enjoy doing a bit of work, but I think the reason I enjoy a bit of work, just for some clarification for any viewers who've watched me and don't know my background, for some bizarre reason, there have been people commenting who think that I've inherited wealth. I don't know why. I mean, obviously, no. Quite the opposite, actually. I mean, I think the reason I've got a work ethic like I have is because my mum and dad didn't have two pennies to rub together. My father was an Irish immigrant who came over to Britain when he was 17, worked in various factories until he was 26, and at something like the third attempt, he managed to get into the police force. But and my mother, her dad was in the army, traveling all over the country. She lived in a terraced house in York. So I mean, the last thing I am is inherited wealth. And the reason I've got a work ethic is that from a very young age, because my parents didn't have two halfpennies to rub together, I had to go and earn the money. Yeah. And the reason that I'm so big on David Bowie and all that is because I had to earn that bloody money to buy that very first album, Hunky Dory by David Bowie, in 1973. I earned that money, and I bought that out. So I've had to work for every penny. I've had to work hard, and I think that's part of the reason why I've still got this work ethic in me. And my mum and dad. I haven't talked much about my mum, but when my mum retired, when she was 60, because there was ladies retired at 60, she carried on working. She went to a temp agency and was a temp secretary.
Yeah.
For the best part of a decade, only a couple of days a week. And then when that fizzled out, because she got a bit sick of it for some reason, she then went volunteering for the local hospice.
Oh, okay.
All the way up till 85. Even when she was dying of cancer, in the last year, she was still dragging herself down to the local hospice, the shop, to man the tills. When she was dying of cancer. So work ethic. What about you, Andy? Where do you get? I think you've got a work ethic. Where do you get it from? Where do you get your intellect? Where do you get your intellectual curiosity from?
Probably my parents, but I mean, my dad. He didn't come from money. He worked hard. He was on the board of big corporates, but only later on in life. I'm one of 5 boys. I'm the oldest of 5 boys. I'm not an only child. So, my parents, we never seemed to have lots until I left home. And then my parents seemed to have lots of money. But anyway, and my mum was a teacher. So she was a teacher when she met my dad. And then she stopped teaching when we were born and looked after all 5 of us over probably a 30-year period, actually, between the oldest and the youngest.
Yeah.
But my dad always worked hard. He not only did he work, he spent time at the weekends with us. He was always out early in the morning and came back late at night working. He got involved in a whole load of things. So he refereed rugby. He also he was on some committee which actually used to go and evaluate leisure centres around the country, and he used to go as part of the judging panel to do that. He was a member of a lot of other things, the British Institute of Management, that sort of thing.
What did your dad do once? What? Tell me about your dad. When did he retire?
My dad retired when he was 62.
And what did he do after that?
He did some consultancy for a while, so he was on the commercial side and the contracts and that type of thing. So he was the group commercial director for Plessy.
Yeah.
And when he retired, he did a bit of consultancy for IBM, and he also did a big job which he loved, which was 3G, 4G. Everybody knows 3G and 4G and 5G networks.
Yeah.
So my dad actually put together all the commercial agreements of how all the companies around the world would share their intellectual property.
Wow.
and be compensated for it. So what would be the share, how each company would be compensated, so that you put the whole lot together.
Yeah.
And he travelled the world doing that. He did that as a consultancy. So that was once he'd retired. So he had retired. He did that. That was paid work, and my assumption was that. But he loved his garden. He was passionate about his garden. He loved rugby, so one of my brothers played semi-professional rugby, so he used to go and watch him play. As I said, he learned Italian.
What age did he work up till?
62. Oh, well, I'd say
retirement.
62. In retirement, probably until he was about 66, 67.
Oh, right. Okay, so after that, he was a man of leisure with interests.
It's a man of leisure with interest, so that was where he did his Italian and everything else. My mum, on the other side, she kept on supply teaching until she was in her late 70s. So she used to go into local schools and teach, as the supply teacher when someone was off ill or they had a gap.
Yeah.
And that's what she did, and she still does a lot of things now.
Yeah.
And now my dad's died, but they did a lot together. And they went to the theatre, they went down to the coast, they went on holidays, right up until just before my dad died.
So the secret sorry.
No, so my mum's just been away. She's 88, and she's just been away to Malta, which is where she was born, with one of my brothers for 4 days. And she's still got not so much, but she's still got a zest for life.
Yeah. Andy, I just wanted to put a comment up on here, because we've got a comment.
Yeah.
I'll let you answer this one as well. But Tronaldino wants to know, Nick, if you have had more time with your dad, how would you spend it? Traveling, just hanging out, deep conversations. Okay, so good question. I lost my dad when I was 43. He would be 74. What would I do? I mean, I miss him every day. I mean, I wish he was still here. The bizarre thing is, just a sidetrack to this, is that my Uncle Archie, who's 94, he was married to the other sister. So the two sisters, one married my dad, the other married Uncle Archie. They both got the same birth date, and Uncle Archie's the one who's lasted till he's 94, not my dad. It's a bit of a shame, really. But if my dad was still here and he was 94, what would I spend more time? Yes, absolutely. Traveling, yes. We would be. He loved cruise ships, and so do I. We would be on cruise ships as a family, lots of cruise holidays. So definitely traveling. He wasn't very adventurous in the sense that you'd find him trekking to Nepal or, climbing the Himalayas and doing all that kind of stuff. But cruise ships to the Mediterranean in particular, he loved it. So do I. So traveling, I'd be doing a lot of traveling with him, lots of holidays. Not just me and him, obviously, if there was, it'd be a family thing. Just hanging out. Yeah, absolutely. My dad used to come to our house and cut my lawn. I'll laugh about it now because after he passed away, I needed a gardener. But I didn't need a gardener until 44. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a huge house, 1/4 acre. But my dad cut my lawn. He used to come and cut the lawn. He used to come and do the garden. And he was pretty much in my house every day for hours. Especially in the summer in the evenings. So yeah, definitely a lot of hanging out. Deep conversations, yes. My father was intellectually curious. You know, he was, even though he didn't have a brilliant education, he was a bright man. And yeah, we definitely would have some deep conversations. But the deep conversations I'd be having with him would be very different to the ones I did have with him pre-44. I'd be wanting to know about the meaning of life and successful retirement and all that kind of stuff. Questions that I've asked Uncle Archie. No disrespect to Uncle Archie. He's a lovely man. He's not the brightest bloke in the world. You know, he's a very basic man. If you asked him the meaning of life, you wouldn't get a particularly meaningful answer. But with my father, you would have done. So yeah, definitely deep conversations. But one of the things, if anybody's watching and the parents are still around and you are in your 40s or your 50s, please spend more time with your parents, even if they appear to be cantankerous old farts, which they can grow into. Give them a bit of slack, because when they've gone, you know, you'll miss them. My wife's parents are still around, well into their 80s now, and her mother is a cantankerous old fart, but father's wonderful. But I do encourage her to spend time with them despite that, and you know, because one day they won't be here and she'll miss them. So that's my take on parents. Andy, what about you? Sadly, you have recently lost your father, haven't you, this year?
Yeah, so my father died just before New Year, so he was 90. We saw him quite a lot. I mean, they don't live locally, so they live about an hour and a half away. But we did, you know, we did make an effort to go and see them and have them come and stay with us. We didn't really go on holidays and share holidays and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, so for me, it's sort of fairly early. My mum's still alive. I know that my wife, her mum's still alive, and she's not my wife's favourite. And her dad died about 6 years ago, and they didn't talk for quite a while. Fortunately, they did for the year before he died, which she was very glad of. But you know, she misses him. She misses him massively, even though, you know, he could be a pain in the arse or ass. But you know. And she regrets the times that she didn't speak to him. So yeah, it is.
What about you, Andy? Have you got any regrets in relation to your father having passed away?
Not really. I mean, I made big efforts when I was younger to sort of connect more with my dad. My dad was quite an insular sort of man. So I went away in 2003. We actually went away to the Rugby World Cup in Australia. We went away for 10 days, flew out there, stayed together, and watched the final when England won, which was fantastic. But I didn't seem to be able to break through. It's really weird. And none of me and my brothers have ever managed to break through that exterior, and that could have been, you know, part of, you know, his earlier life, but. So I'm not sure what else I could have done. Did talk to him, did share things, did talk about work. But yeah, he was a very, very hard man. Yeah, to have that conversation with.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. So hopefully that'll help Tronaldino. Hopefully that's Andy and I shared our experiences there. Very different. As I say, I lost my dad a long time ago. Andy's recently lost his. So. Andy, I think we're coming nearly to the end of the stream. Yeah. I've noticed it's about not we have to finish on the hour. Although you do know that, as I've discussed earlier, that I have got gallbladder disease.
Oh yes.
And if I eat after 7 o'clock, the chances are that I might be doubled up in agony around about 8:30. But I'm happy to for us to sort of carry on for as long as we need. But what I was hoping to do now is if we just kind of wrap up and summarize this topic, if I could go first and then I'll bring you in. Proactivity and perseverance.
Yeah.
The way I see this topic is that it doesn't matter what you do, whether it's a work-related thing or it's a leisure-related thing. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's a solo experience or multiple social connections. A successful retirement is built on getting out and about and doing things that satisfy you. It doesn't have to involve loads of people. It doesn't have to involve anybody. Just things that just you. My YouTube, for example, it's just me and a camera. I mean, it's not me and a load of people in the camera. It's me and a camera. but at least I'm doing something. It's proactive. And then if it doesn't quite work out at first, not wanting to beat yourself up, don't be a perfectionist. Persevere for a while, not too long. I mean, I think if I had one weakness, it's that I persevere a bit too long. The old sunk fallacy thing, sunk cost fallacy. Persevere, and if it doesn't work out, don't beat yourself up. It didn't work out. It's just an experiment. Try something else. Just keep trying things. Go back and be proactive. Keep trying things. Go back to the other steps in the pillars. Maybe go back to feelings and find out a bit more about yourself. What might not have worked out because you don't know yourself well enough, but just keep trying. So that's my take on proactivity and perseverance. What about you, Andy? What's your take?
My take's not dissimilar. I think the only thing that I would add to that, Nick, is the fact that the perseverance there is a whole perseverance and proactivity. There's a whole piece in there around surrounding yourself with supportive people, surrounding yourself who will help you celebrate successes and support you when things aren't going, and it's helping you focus on what's happening now, so that you're positive in what's going forward. So I think the big learning I've had from this, from the everything you said is right, but the big learning I've had is I think the support that I've had from you, and maybe the other way around, has helped me massively get to where I am now, which I'm not sure would have happened if I hadn't had that support and that challenge and that sort of questioning that I've had for the last few years.
Well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. And likewise, I mean, obviously, the fact you're a qualified coach it helps a lot, because the way you question me is in a different way, perhaps, than I question you. I think I'm more like more to the point in that, whereas you tend to sort of, I'm sure you ask me questions like I'm one of your coaching clients, only I get it for free.
Yeah, you do.
And that's good. So, but it's helped me as well. But I think the point you're making is that you don't have to go on this journey on your own.
No.
Yeah, and which neatly brings me into something which we are advising people about, is that Andy and I are putting together a group coaching mentoring program, which is going to last about, I guess, 4 to 5 weeks, where we will take a small group of people through these 5 pillars, through the 5 steps: perception, purpose, preparation, proactivity, and perseverance, so that they can get there a little bit quicker than we did. I mean, I don't want people to take 10, 15 years like me and Andy. I think you can get there a lot quicker. And we're doing this program to hold people's hand. And the moment we're taking interested parties, it's a reserve list. There will only be 10 places. Once we've reached a number 6, we will kick the thing off. So if you're interested, put yourself on the reserve list, and either myself or Andy will have a chat with you. There'll be a link in the description to this video. Andy, just tell us a bit more about the program as well, from your perspective as a qualified coach.
Well, the program's just taking you through the phases. The whole thing is that this is a process of self-discovery where will be guides taking you through that process. There is work that you have to do, but what we'll take you through is we'll help you find out more about yourself. We'll help you try and define what your purpose is, and then we'll bring you together with the rest of the group so that you can talk about the experiences you've had. You can talk about the things you found out and share those, and also be very critical of each other if that's the right thing to do, because it's holding people to account for doing stuff, and that will help you get to a point where you can actually start engaging. You can actually start talking to people. You can actually have a bit more focus about what you're doing. So it's a structured program. So we'll give you work. We'll give you an idea of how you can find yourself better. In terms of how do you find out about yourself better? How can we evaluate the purpose? We'll give you a template that you can fill in, which is a template for retirement, which asks questions.
A blueprint.
A blueprint, that's the one.
Yeah, to get you from A to B. But we're going to talk in a lot more detail about the program in future lives anyway, Andy. But that's hopefully giving people a bit of a flavour. So before we go, just wanted to pop another one on there. Kazi282, greetings from Germany. I found your channel a few weeks ago and I like it. Thank you. I'm glad you do. Thank you very much for the endorsement. So, Andy, I think that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. Anything else to add?
No, just looking forward to doing it again next week now.
Okay, in that case, it's time to go. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Excellent. Goodbye.
Bye.